Ma'am, I believe everything is ready for your inspection.
Oh, marvellous. I want to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect. Tea, ghostly sounds, that sounds good. Sugar, milk, cake, nervous breakdown. I think I have everything. Very good, Mum. I must say I'm quite excited. We've never had such an accomplished murderer to the tea lair before now. No, Latimer. He isn't a murderer, he's a writer. They're not real people.
I think you'll find they are real, Mum.
No, they're really not. It's all made up.
No, I've been on the internet, Mum. They're most assuredly real. Are you quite well, Mum?
I'm very nervous. I haven't been sleeping very well.
Ah, yes. Well, in accordance with that, I prepared some potions to help you sleep.
Oh, good.
Here we have the potion of sweet repose. And here we have the potion of terrible nightmares. A sweet repose or terrible nightmares? Which would you like, Mum?
I think I can take care of the terrible nightmares all by myself, so I will go with sweet repose, please.
Are you quite sure, Mum? These are very high-quality nightmares.
No, it's fine. I can handle that. Sweet repose it is.
Very good, ma'am, very good. Well, what I shall do is put this in your bedchamber for tonight. Sweet repose.
Yes, good. Marvellous.
Very good, Mum.
Tea, cake, sugar, everything good. Well, hello there, my lovelies. It's so wonderful and faintly terrifying to see you all. It is my deep pleasure and quiet horror to welcome you all to the special Worldcon 75 tea lair for polite conversation, abject geekery, a cheeky little bit of cake, and of course, a nice cup of tea.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Ma'am, but your guest has arrived. Mr. George really Martin.
Very good, Latimer. Let's see his calling card. George really Martin, the American Tolkien.
John really Tolkien. It all makes sense now.
Yes, marvellous. I'll show him in, Latimer.
Very good, Ma'am.
Well, for those of you who don't know, actually, I have a suspicion that every person in this room knows who George really Martin is, but just in case, he was the inventor of the Hugo's Loser Party. You may remember him from having had his head bitten off by a shark in Sharknado 3. He's also a novelist, a short story writer, an editor, a screenwriter, and a TV producer. And there's something else that he's quite famous for, but for the life of me, I can't recall what it is right now.
Mr. George really Martin.
And how are you?
I'm good.
Marvellous. Would you care for some tea?
Certainly.
I hope you're not too jet-lagged.
Well, I've been here for a few days.
Ah.
Getting used to Finland.
I see. Marvellous. And would you care for some lemon with your tea?
I would, yes.
I'm going to pass over the plate and hope that I don't shake so much that the fork clatters off onto the table.
Well, this is a very civilized sort of interview.
Oh, but of course. One has to bring high tea with one when one travels abroad. So, would you care for some cake? There is Finnish strawberry cake, which I am assured is quite marvellous.
It does look impressive.
So, help yourself to anything else you need. Now.
Why, there's a lot of people here.
Yes. Sometimes I believe there are lots of people there and they're not actually there. So I find in situations like this, it's best to just pretend they're not here.
All right.
So,
I can do that.
In a game of chess. Each piece on the board has a different move and a different strategic advantage. I was wondering, which piece on a game of chess, which piece on the board would you be and why?
Well, you know, one hesitates to call oneself a queen, but the queen is the most powerful piece in the game of chess.
Definitely.
Now, mind you, it is the king, when he dies, that ends the game, but he can only move one square in any direction, so the queen is really what you want to be if you're playing chess.
Definitely. I wanted to be queen for an extraordinarily long time, it's true. Now, there has been a little bit of confusion over the letters RR in your name. I was wondering if, just between us, you could tell us what they really stand for.
My middle names?
Yes. I'm in the presence of royalty, I know it. But what are your middle names? Because I'd really like to know. Just whisper in my ear.
But all these people are listening.
Oh. All right then. What would you like them to stand for?
Well, really rich is good.
It's good if it's true.
But that's not actually it.
Is it Roger Rabbit?
It's not Roger Rabbit.
I've lost 100
Roger
pounds.
Ramjet?
No?
It's not railroad.
Oh. Well, maybe we should leave that to one side and return to the theme of queens.
Okay.
I am a huge fan of RuPaul's Drag Race. Anyone, can I have a cheer from the imaginary people here? Who else loves RuPaul? Thank you. Now, I was wondering if you woke up one morning and thought, you know, this isn't for me anymore. I'm going to give up my career and go off and be a drag queen. What would you choose as your drag queen name?
Oh. I don't know the naming convention. How do you arrive at that? Is that like coming up with a stripper name?
No, they are arranged. So some of my personal favourites are Raja, Raven.
Raven is good. I like Raven.
It's very good, yes, but
Raven
that's already been
nice.
taken because Raven was on RuPaul's Drag Race. Latrice Royale was one of my favourites, but you know, not a winner, sadly. So that kind of thing.
People would always be tying messages to your legs.
I'm not sure that Raven had that problem. Yes, so well, I suppose if you had Messenger Pigeon as your drag queen name, that would also be a problem, wouldn't it?
Yes, well, I improved on pigeons. Ravens are much better birds.
Well, how about you could be the really real Raven as your drag queen
That would be
name?
good.
Really, really Raven.
How about Falcon?
Falcon is nice.
Like
what about
Peregrine?
Peregrine Falcon. That was always my favourite bird. Or Dark Falcon. Yeah.
Peregrine is also a wildcard character.
Ah, well, there we go. So it works very, very well.
Fits in all around, yes.
Now, you have a career that spans several decades, and not too long ago, I had the pleasure of taking tea with Robin Hobb. And she told me that one of the biggest differences that she's observed over her career was the change in binding technology for books, that all of a sudden she was allowed to have larger word counts for a single volume, and that it could mean that she could ease into the world building and take the time to build the world in a way that she couldn't before. So I was wondering, what is the biggest change you have seen over your career?
That change in binding technology is interestingly important because it has affected the entire history of fantasy, most notably because when J.R.R. Tolkien, you've heard of him?
Yes, John, yes. Really Tolkien, yes, huge fan.
He wrote a book called Lord of the Rings, and it was too big to be bound as a single volume, so they divided it into 3, which of course he had never intended. It was one book, it was one novel, it was not a series, it was not a trilogy, but they published it as a trilogy, and it was rather successful. And then for 30 years thereafter, everyone who wanted to write epic fantasy had to write a trilogy. And if they'd only been able to bind a larger book in 1950s Britain, that never would have happened, and we would have had larger things. I think the biggest change I've actually seen in publishing, well, there's one going on right now, but I'm really the wrong person to ask about that, and that's the growth of independent publishing, separate and apart from the traditional publishing. As in America, we have the Big Five, which is all that's left of the major publishers. There used to be the Big Six, and before that they were the Big Eight. And
then they got in together in a big ring and they killed each other, didn't they? And now there's only 5 left.
Something like that, yes.
Yes.
So now we have this whole burgeoning thing of self-publishing, independent publishing. We used to call it vanity publishing, but they don't like to call it that anymore. Although, to a certain extent, it still is vanity publishing. But at least for some of the people who are participating in it, but not all of them, it is becoming a viable alternative means of having your books published. What it's going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I really don't know.
Depends on who volunteers as tribute first, I suppose.
Before that, the change that I've observed is the centralization of publishing. We've gotten to the Big Five from what used to be 30 or 40 fairly major, significant publishers in the United States who have, ever since the 70s, have been repeatedly merging with each other, buying each other, acquiring each other, and they've been driven more and more by a bestseller mentality. So we've seen the death of the mid-list, and it's an unfortunate trend. It's particularly affected science fiction and fantasy, I think. Back in the late 90s, for my sins, I served for 2 years as the Vice President of the Science Fiction Writers of America. And we have our annual Nebula banquet where the Nebula Awards are given, and we give a Grand Master Award at those events. And the 2 years that I was Vice President, we gave the award one year, the Grand Master Award, to Jack Vance, and the following year to Poul Anderson. Amazing writers, both of them. Incredible writers and very deserving of the Grand Master. But I remember observing at the time that the kind of careers that Jack Vance and Poul Anderson had, no young writer starting out today could ever have again. Because these are men who had careers spanning 30, 40, 50 years, tremendous body of work, often writing a novel a year, none of which ever achieved bestseller status. Neither of those men ever had a book on any of the lists, but they built up a huge body of work. And that was possible in those days when the mid-list was strong and thriving. You could do great work, but in modern publishing, it's not. They're always looking for the next big book, the next bestseller. So a new writer breaks in and publishes 1 or 2 books, 3 books, 4 books. They're selling okay, but they're not, there's no upward arc, there's no bestsellers, there's no breakthrough book, as they talk about. Mm-hmm. The publisher will drop that writer. So you don't get to have the 50-year-long career of just writing good, solid books. You have to hit the home run, we call it in America. I don't know what you call it in cricket, but it's a ball that goes really far and does really well.
Mm-hmm. And of course, when you say that the publisher drops the author, you neglect to mention that it's actually into a volcano. And it's very frightening when you're kind of teetering on the mid-list these days. It's cutthroat.
Sometimes it can feel like being dropped into a volcano. Mm. I mean, you mentioned Robin Hobb.
They didn't drop her into a volcano, did they? She looked so well when I took tea with her.
No, but they dropped Megan Lindholm into a volcano.
Well, I didn't want to.
Robin Hobb rose up from the volcano like a phoenix, spreading her wings and flying up to the bestseller lists, where she has dwelled happily ever since.
Isn't that a lovely image? All of these people flying up to this place, the golden clouds of the bestseller list. Oh, how I dream. So I saw a recent tweet of yours in which you described going to New York City and there being lots of people recognizing you on the street. Now, that's something you'd expect at a science fiction convention, the conventions you go to, but walking down the street in New York City, how did that feel?
It's something I've gotten used to in recent years. Everywhere I go now, I'm recognized. Writers don't expect this. This is a fate that's supposed to befall actors, not writers, but somehow it has happened to me. But there was one exception. Yes, I couldn't walk a block in New York City without several people recognizing me, wanting selfies, wanting me to autograph their arm or any scrap of paper that they happen to have on them. But there was one place where I was safe. When I entered the offices of my publisher, no one recognized me. The guard said, do you have any identification? Who is it you want to see again? And, I took 10 minutes to get up to see my editor, so...
You didn't say my flesh is my identification. No? Your hat? No.
Probably not, no.
Oh, it's a shame. Is it a bit strange? I mean, that's something that I would actually be very scared of. I mean, it's bad enough having tea in a room with hundreds of imaginary people, but actually being recognized on the street, is it something which makes you feel uncomfortable, or are you just blasé about it now?
No, it still feels weird. It's been happening to me, increasingly, really, since the show took off and my face, but it still feels weird. I've been part of this community, this science fiction fan convention community, since the early 70s. And I could always be recognized there. I could get what fans used to call ego boosting recognition. I would come into a convention like this, I would put on my name tag here, and people would recognize me, would ask for my autograph, would ask me to be on panels, and it was nice. But then I could take off my name tag and leave, and I could pass like a regular person among other regular people out in the street. I could control recognition. Now it is completely out of my control. As I was waiting in the wings with Jeeves.
Latimer.
Uh-oh.
It's very upsetting. Nothing, Latimer. We were just making a joke about a terrible butler. Not you. It's fine.
As I was waiting in the wings with Latimer, I got a text from a friend of mine in Australia who said that she had just seen a post on Facebook that I was eating a burger. And indeed, I did eat a burger 2 nights ago at a small cafe here in Finland, in Helsinki, at midnight, because it was the only place open that we could find after our jet lag when we woke up. And I went down and I had a burger. I had French fries too, in Finland. And somehow this news has reached Australia.
Wait, you didn't put up the post. Somebody else posted that you were...
Yes, somebody else posted this.
I was sitting here.
Was anxious to get out the news that George R.R. Martin
the whole time
was in the shop having a burger.
The whole time you were telling that story, I was thinking, George is the kind of person who posts what he's having for dinner. I had no idea. No, of course, it was somebody else. There are spies everywhere. Yes, it's true. Now, we need to get serious. A Song of India is one of my favourite pieces of classical music. Beautiful melody. I was wondering what your favourite piece of classical music is.
My favorite piece of classical music. So that would like not count the Beatles or Creedence Clearwater Revival or...
Not even for you, George. No. No.
Well, the 1812 Overture is pretty...
Yes, I love that one. That's really good. Yes, I imagine destroying all of my enemies when I listen to that one. Now, you have a new book coming out that I'm sure everyone wants to know about. So tell us about the next installment of the Wildcard series.
Well, it's actually, we have a number of new Wildcard books coming out. And one of them is very close to completion. And we went back, some of you who have read the Wildcard books may remember the very first book, which was a historical book. It started in 1946 when the Wildcard virus was first released and went up to the present, which then was 1986. And it was all set in New York City, where most of the action took place. Well, the book that we're doing now is a parallel construction, exactly the same construction, except we decided to set all the action in a different country and show starting from 1946 to the present. And we did seriously consider Finland, but in the end we went with the British Isles instead.
I'm so delighted. And when can we expect this new?
Well, that depends on when the last two writers deliver their stories. I'm still waiting on two rewrites, but I hope to have them by the time we're done. It'll be called, the book is called Knaves Over Queens. And since we were writing about the British Isles, we thought we should add some British writers. So we added Mark Lawrence,
yes.
Excellent writer. The Irish writer, Peta O'Gwillan.
Yes.
Is he here somewhere? Yes. Probably hiding somewhere. He's got a really twisted imagination. And a couple writers named Newman.
Oh, really?
Have you heard of them?
Oh, well, I might be married to one of them and the other one, oh, it's me!
So who knows, if enough people read and enjoy Knaves Over Queens, we may do more Wildcard books set in the British Isles. And if not, we'll move right on to Scandinavia.
Well, I feel bad about saying that I've ordered thumb screws and things now, so, well, we'll just have to see. Now, you're a very special guest, and so I've arranged something very special for you, some very special entertainment. So, Latimer, bring out the chickens. Latimer? Latimer?
I'm so sorry, Mum. I asked the chickens if they'd come out for you, and they said no.
Wait, you have to persuade them. George is here.
Very good, Mum. I'll get the prod.
No. Perhaps I'd better deal with this. Enjoy your cake, and I'll be right back after I've spoken to the chickens.
I'm so sorry, Mum. I really don't know what to do with it.
What's wrong, my little darling? Oh, they look so scared. Oh, there's...
All these people, Mum, they're shy.
Oh, well, I know they look really terrifying, but they're lovely, really, and George won't let them do anything to you. Come and sing. Come and sing. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh, I'm so sorry, George. Come on. Oh, no, don't do that there. Oh, no, we'll get a mop. No, we'll get a mop. Don't worry. He's just... okay, let's think about this. Okay, well, how about if you sing behind the curtain? All right, okay.
Yes, that's quite enough of that. Back you go. Go on, back into the box. Goodness me.
Well done. Well, they're just like me. They're so brave when no one else can see them.
Ah, good news, Mum. I think we've killed our first guest.
No, I don't know. Please, God, don't be dead, George. No, I think I...
Oh, no, he's just asleep.
Wait, was this sweet repose or terrible, terrible nightmares?
Ah, that was the terrible, terrible nightmares, Mum.
Oh
Yes, I think I left it on the table by accident.
my God, he's my editor now. He's my editor now. This is terrible. I don't know what to do. What are we going to do?
Don't worry, Mum. I didn't realise he was your editor, so I suppose we can fix this. Even though he's deeply asleep and in terrible trouble, he'll still be able to hear noises from the waking world.
I'm so sorry.
But I think probably that would be too quiet. What we will need is a room full of imaginary people to help us.
I have just the one in mind.
Ah, excellent, Mum, excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, might I ask in a moment for you all to make your happiest noises and noises of encouragement. You may wish to express your love for Mr. Really, Really Martin, if that pleases you, but positive, happy things that will snap him from his nightmare. I should warn you, it will work best if you are loud. So please throw aside your inhibitions and be as loud as you can. Is everyone ready? In 3, 2, 1... I think that's enough happiness for one day.
It's not working.
It's not working?
No.
They did seem happy and loud. Ah, I understand, Mum. You see, we were dealing with this problem as if it affected an ordinary human being. But Mr. Really, Really Martin is not an ordinary human being, so we will have to take special measures. This time, ladies and gentlemen, what I would ask is that you make the noise of your favourite character dying horribly. And perhaps this will bring Mr. Really, Really Martin the pleasure he needs to break free of his emotion. So I might ask if you are ready in 3, 2, 1... Very good, ladies and gentlemen. Very good. Very good. Winter is coming!
I think winter is already here, George. It's all right. I'm so sorry. It must have been the tea.
That cake has a real kick.
Yes, strawberry cake and jet lag is just a terrible combination, isn't it? Well, actually, let's check the... Oh, I'm afraid the teapot is empty and,
Oh dear.
all that leaves for me to say is, don't worry, that doesn't mean you're going to die.
Oh good.
All it means is, that all I have to do is to say thank you so much for coming into the tea there and taking tea with me
It's
today.
my pleasure.
Thank you, and perhaps everybody could give George a marvellous round of applause.
This way, sir.
That was all right. In the end, good. Well, I wanted to add my own personal thank you for being just so fabulous. And I've remembered what it is that he's famous for. It's Beauty and the Beast. That was it. Have a wonderful Worldcon, my darlings. Bye.